Bollocks.
He's failed.
Bollocks.
Rio Ferdinand, thank you very much for joining us. How are you doing?
I'm all right, thank you. Good to see you again.
And you. We've just watched you and your fellow BT Sport pundits pick your ultimate Champions League 11 for the BT Sport Immortals series. Some obvious picks in there, Ronaldo, Messi. Some more interesting ones. No Xavi and Modric in midfield.
Yeah, I can't believe it. I can't believe it, seriously. Two of my favourite players I've watched for years. I wanted at least one of them in there. I picked Xavi because of the way that his team dismantled my Man United team, and he was one of the main players in causing and inflicting that pain. So I had to give him that respect and put him in my team, but the other lads, they voted against it, so they went for someone else. Listen, the players that go in, let's be honest, they're all great players, so it's not that much of a travesty because you're talking about legends of the game. But I just feel Xavi was one of the most important players in the best club team we've ever seen. Deserves to be in there.
Do you think Modric is now within that greatest midfielders of all time conversation? Like he's at least in the mix, right?
Yeah, Modric is in that conversation. He's at the table when you're talking about the most influential and best midfielders in Champions League history. To win it 4 times as yet, it could be 5 this year. And to be one of the main players in that team, big games come up, he plays. And I think when you talk about the Champions League especially, one of the things I look for in the players as well is that when the biggest games come, they stand up and they get bigger. They don't shrink, they don't become less important, they don't have less impact.
And on that note, recently we've seen some incredible Champions League ties. The second leg between Real Madrid and Man City was unbelievable. There are no City players in this team, obviously. They're relatively new to that stage, let's say, last 10 years or so. There were some interesting comments from former teammates of yours, Patrice Evra, saying that maybe their problem is that they lack the personality because Pep Guardiola doesn't like to coach players with that personality because he likes to be in control. I think that's a fair reflection of what Evra said. Where do you stand on that, having played against Pep Guardiola teams in the past and seeing what has consistently happened to City, which is getting almost there and not quite getting across the line?
I don't agree with that, if I'm honest. I think me and Pat have spoke about this, but it's more that Pep Guardiola is more than just about winning the Champions League. Pep Guardiola has revolutionised the way coaches at every level of the game see football. Before Guardiola started making teams play out from the back and centre-backs drop almost near the corner flag, who was doing that? Nobody. Who had their full-backs playing in centre midfield when they were in possession of the ball?
You weren't ever told to come that deep.
No, now you're seeing Sunday League managers, non-league managers, lower division managers in all countries try and play like this. So to do that, you have to have some sort of personality. To get players playing like that and continually win domestically, you have to have some sort of character and personality.
Yeah, and I suppose the Champions League is a cup competition, it's fine margins, so it's slightly reductive to look at one isolated result and say, well, this must be the problem, right?
I think Pep Guardiola answered it quite right. He said, well, we won, Man United won it in my time in Moscow with a moment. Somebody slips, misses a penalty, we managed to score the next penalty. That's a moment, that's a little detail, a small margin. It's the grand picture in terms of were we the best team, were we good enough, did we buy the best team on the day, etc. Pales into insignificance.
I mean, I completely agree. We often, as football fans, like to attach meaning to something after it's happened, whereas it often just comes down to how, 5 inches left the other side of a post.
Jack Grealish's chance gets taken off the course of going in by Courtois' stud.
That goes in, we'd say.
They're a millimetre either side of that from going through to the final, and the narrative's different.
What do you make of people saying, if Pep Guardiola doesn't win the Champions League at Manchester City,
bollocks,
he's failed?
Bollocks. Sorry, but it's rubbish. I just don't think that's...
Because obviously that is the aim.
He's won the Champions League though, more than once. And people say, just because he had Messi. Well, just because he had Messi, he still created a framework for that team to play, a framework for all those players to excel. 7 of those players came through the youth team. They're the best club team we've ever seen, bar none.
Exactly.
And he went in Germany and dominated domestically. albeit at Bayern Munich who do it most of the time anyway. It still had to continue that. That's a pressure in itself. Still went up a level when he. If you ask every player in that team when he came there, they're going, "Oh my God, I've never known anything like this." Goes to Man City, they're dominating domestically since he's been there. Like, it's ridiculous. He's took the bar, he's raised it. Him and Klopp have raised it to a level that's never been seen points-wise. So to judge him that he hasn't won a Champions League since the couple he's won at Barcelona, but we're going to say he's not the manager we thought he was, blasphemy.
On the other side of Manchester, slightly less enjoyable times for United at the moment. Back in September, Ronaldo had just joined when we spoke last, and he scored a lot of goals. How do you think the move's gone? On a personal level for him, he's played pretty well, but the team...
Yeah, I think on a personal level, he does what Ronaldo does. He scores goals. He wins games. Without Ronaldo, they don't get out of knockout phases in Champions League. Scored winning goals multiple times, and he's lived up to his side of the bargain. I think that the club has obviously hasn't played their role in terms of giving him the platform for success. And it just shows you great players, best players in the conversation for best players ever. He's one of them. You can't do it alone. You need teammates to help, and this shows that.
Yeah, 100%. Do you think that will change with the appointment of Erik ten Hag? They've both been speaking quite positively about each other in recent days. Do you think, Ronaldo and the rest of the team will kick on? Because we've seen accomplished managers come to United and still struggle. Right?
Yeah, we have to wait and see. This is something that we need to wait for, give it time. I think Ronaldo said this week, this new manager needs time, and I think he needs to be afforded that, given the resources, given the patience, to help to try and create something, because he's got to create something from almost scratch here.
I mean, there's clearly a bit of a toxic atmosphere within the dressing room at the moment. If reports are anything to go by, apparently players had to be pulled apart in training when they were fighting.
I don't believe everything you read.
Okay. Now, so my question was going to be, how common is that? Are we overblowing that? Does that happen all the time, and then it's water?
Listen, if there's dust-ups in training, I don't see that as being something to report about. I understand why people report it, because it is people interested in stuff like that. But it's not a surprise.
Right.
Everyone seems surprised, but if there's a fight, we don't know if there was one or not.
Yeah. I'm sure you saw a few.
I saw people.
Famous one between Rude and Ronaldo. Possibly.
Yeah, that was one, but there's people getting in people's faces constantly. Listen, it's like you got grown men going at it, all fighting to win and be the best and want to be in a team, and some people aren't happy at certain times of the year and whatnot. So it's understandable there's going to be tear-ups.
The biggest Premier League news in recent days is obviously Erling Haaland joining Man City. We've spoken a lot about Pep and his tactical innovation and pioneering the way so many teams like to play. There is scepticism around how well Haaland will fit into the City system, given his kind of directness and in comparison to them playing without a striker. Do you think those concerns are valid, or do you think he'll just hit the ground running, score 1 million goals, and they'll win the league?
I think he'll get the goals. I'll be surprised if he doesn't go in there and isn't a hit. I think they're going to have to adapt a little bit in terms of they love to create the overload in the midfield, and normally that's by playing with a number 9 that likes to drop in at times. When Foden or Gundogan's played up there, or Bernardo Silva, their players that's dropped in. Jesus doesn't mind dropping, not as much as them three, but Kevin De Bruyne, they drop in and create that extra player in midfield where they dominate the ball. But
he's not going to do that, is he?
That's not his game. His game is not coming to the ball and being a part of that. His game is finishing chances, getting in behind teams. So they're going to have that ability to go a bit more direct if they choose at times when they need that plan B, which I think he would have excelled maybe in a game like the Madrid game at the end of it when they're looking for something different. But also I think, listen, the amount of chances this team creates, I just don't see him not scoring goals. He's about being on the end of things, end of crosses, end of chances, cutbacks, etc.
He's going to offer them something different, isn't he?
Yeah, I just feel that he's going to be someone who's going to score a lot of goals. He's going to have to adapt his game a little bit because Dortmund played different to Man City, but he's got the best manager in terms of creating chances for himself. And as long as he's a sponge and he wants to learn and work, I think he'll have a good chance of being a top player there.
And lastly, ahead of the Champions League final, by every metric, it seems like Liverpool are the better team. If you look at numbers and points, and obviously Real Madrid are league champions in in Spain, but it seems like Liverpool are the better team, and yet it also feels like we just can't rule out Real Madrid. So how do you think the final's going to go?
I think Liverpool win by 2 goals, but I thought Chelsea, PSG and Man City were all going to beat Real Madrid. So you have to respect the history of the football club in this tournament. You have to respect the experience that they have, the talent that they have in that team, and they're nerveless in these big pressure situations. So I don't think it'll be easy, but I just think this Liverpool team, if they play to their best, if they play to their maximum, they play at the intensity that they can play at for the full 90, I don't think this Real Madrid team will be able to keep up with that physicality that they bring to the game.
It won't be the same as 2018 then?
No, and a big thing as well, that there's someone like Mo Salah, we spoke to him after the game against Villarreal in the semi-final, and that revenge is in his eyes. And up until we went off, I thought they were going to win that game.
Yeah, that sub changed the whole thing.
So and him going off give the Real Madrid team confidence.
And if I remember correctly, they had to bring on Adam Lallana, whereas now they've got that depth that they didn't have.
Different. Yeah. So I think for me it points to a Liverpool win.
But then, of course, as you said, we can never rule out Real Madrid. Benzema, he's just been ridiculous, right? Like
he's been the best number 9 in the world this year. Lewandowski, yeah, I don't see no one else to win that. I mean, if Mane pulls up an unbelievable performance in the final, and after winning the African Nations Cup as well, the FA Cup just gone by, if they won the league as well, then Mane's got a big shout. Salah maybe as well, but Benzema, for what he's done this year in the Champions League in the knockout phases and shooting Real Madrid to another league title, I can't look past him.
The difference, I guess, is that Benzema's kind of doing it without the perfect framework around him. Like, they're a good team, but the Liverpool system compared to the Real Madrid one, it does feel like Benzema has more individual magic.
Yeah, he's had the most defining moments in the season. He's hat-tricks in Champions League knockout games, like against big teams, who they weren't back to win these games, but he's pulled them from the brink of going out a couple of times now. Major player.
But we're still back in Liverpool to win because they are the better team.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, Rio, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you. Cheers.